Hey there fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're here on the coast of Chile, and today what we have for you are the don'ts of visiting Chile. So one thing I gotta tell you, when you do come here to Chile, don't think that the Spanish you learned in school will help you all the time. It will help you a lot, but not all the time, because in Chile they have their own slang, they have their own words, they have their own dialects, and sometimes it can be a little tough for people that aren't used to it. And I'm not just talking, gringos like me that speak Spanish I learned in school. I'm talking like native speakers sometimes have trouble here. So just have a heads up for that. Another thing I think you need to know, don't forget when you come to Chile, the seasons are flipped. We're here in the USA summer, but look, it's like fall winter time here. So what you have to realize, if you want to come and enjoy summer in the winter, summer here in Chile is December, January, and February. Winter, well, that's June, July, and August, so do be aware of that. And no matter when you come, don't forget to have the wine. Chilean wine is fantastic, especially the reds. And if you're looking for really something special, the Carbonari, that red is probably the one you want to try when you're here, because it's not something you're getting outside of Chile, or if you do, it's probably not a Chilean version, so you want to have that when you're here. But all the wines are great. We're here in Casablanca filming now, and this is one of those wine regions you could really enjoy. And I think that's another thing I need to talk about is don't forget about the different regions you have here in Chile. Because you think about it, as a tourist, you kind of got like 4 or 5 kind of regions in the country. One, you got the very north, the Atacama Desert, right? And you're going there and you see the formations, and you get the night sky. You can see incredible stargates when you're there. Also, more to the north, Iquique is another place you can go where you actually get the surfing. Water's not as cold as down here on the middle coast and the south coast. You can have that. As you come down, you come here to kind of central Chile. You have Santiago, and you go there, Plaza de Armas, and the cathedral, and the city market around the way, going up San Cristobal, the funicular, the cable car, getting the views of the city. I mean, it's a cool capital to go visit, but when you're there, there's other places nearby. You can come to the vineyards here in Casablanca and other regions around here. Valparaiso with all the street art and everything there. It's fantastic. You have that. You go farther south, you've got the Lake District. Pucón, which is like kind of like your base when you're there, and you can do your kayaking, your mountain biking, all the lake fun you can think of, you have that. And then you go down to Patagonia. Oh my gosh, you got Torre de Planes. I mean, it's just like when you see the 3 peaks, you see this stuff when they show Chile in the mountains, like that is what you're talking about. And another thing I gotta tell you is don't forget, Chile is your hopping off point for a couple of really crazy destinations. One, Easter Island. Yeah, Easter Island. It's part of Chile. It's way out in the Pacific, but it's beautiful to go see with the Maui and everything when you're there. It's really cool. But also it can be a jumping off point if you want to go to the very south and go to Antarctica, you can do that as well. And for my animal lovers, you will see some things when you're here. And if you do come to the coast, especially if you go more towards the south, don't forget to look for the penguins and sometimes the whales. You can see that too. So there's some really nature stuff you're not used to seeing when you're here. But I think another thing that's important for me to mention when I talk about Chile is you'll notice don't get too loud in Chile. I know when you go to Argentina, it's boisterous and stuff. You go to Brazil, it's boisterous. You go to Colombia, it's loud and stuff. But Chile is definitely very much a chill, get it? Chill Chile place. So like, it's not a loud kind of thing when you're here, so do be aware of that. Another thing, when you come into Chile, they're gonna give you this little form. Don't lose that tourist form. You need that form, because if you don't have it, you're gonna have issues, because you need to show your passport and that form every time you check into a hotel anywhere in the country. So it's something you need, and you need it when you leave the country as well. So don't mess around with it. So what I do, when you get it, take a picture of it with your passport so you have it, so you have one in case it gets kind of ruined, because it's that like really thin kind of like receipt level of paper quality. So do be aware of that, okay? But yeah, honestly, don't lose that. Now, when you're coming to Chile, I got to tell you this, don't forget to download the WhatsApp app on your phone, because a lot of businesses actually will only contact you through WhatsApp, not the website, not their Facebook page, but WhatsApp. So you want to have that so you can connect with people. Also, you might want to know, Mark, how can I pay? Well, don't worry, credit cards are accepted all over the country, but I want to tell you this, don't forget a few key words, okay? One, don't forget sin quotas, which means without like quotas, because here they let people pay in multiple installments. And if you do sin quotas, it's just in one payment, okay? So be aware of that. Also, don't forget, con propina, because you do tip here, but I will tell you, the tip is already there. So like if your bill is like 100,000 pesos, it'll say 110,000 at the end, but it'll say 100, and then it'll be the 10,000, for the propina, and they'll ask you, oh, do you want to leave the tip? They have to ask you, but it's typical just to leave it there. If you have really good service, you can give more, but it's kind of built in, so don't forget about that. And we're going around the country. I think there's a don't I want to have for this one is, Don't think those are going to be short bus rides because they can be long, but importantly with that is don't forget to bring snacks for the bus rides because there's not always a ton of options on those 12, 14, 18-hour bus rides. Take my word for it, okay? Don't forget snacks. So when you look at the Chileans, I do have a don't for you, and I'm going to tell you this. Don't think the Chileans are like rude, mean, indifferent, all kinds of stuff, because they're not. The Chileans are much more laid back. They are not the boisterous, loud, crazy, like Brazilians and Colombians kind of thing. They're much more reserved here, so when you think they're mad at you, they're not. They're just very kind of reserved. And so if you do have questions or you're not sure where things are, don't worry. The people here are very friendly, and it's a really safe country, but it is one of those things I think you should know about is you're not going to have that crazy outgoingness here. It's much more of a staid, reserved kind of thing. So just be aware of that. They're not mad at you. They just are chill. So whether you're in Santiago or you're anywhere in Chile, one thing I gotta tell you is don't expect to do much shopping on Sundays. Shops will be closed, you know. The only place you might be able to shop is actually in the malls, so you can do that. But in general, yeah, Sunday is more of a go visit the museums, go on a hike, go on an adventure kind of thing, not a shopping souvenir day. So have a heads up for that one. Now, continuing on with some of the food don'ts I have for you. One, don't think a hot dog is just a hot dog when you're here. These things called completos, or I like the Italiano better, but a completo is their super hot dog. Like they have hot dogs with so much stuff on it, and it's gonna have like peppers and sauerkraut mixed together on top with a bunch of mayo. That's a completo, and you see that one talked about all the time in all the videos about Chile. But what you don't mention is the Italiano. The Italiano, they call it that because the top of the hot dog looks like the Italian flag because it's got guacamole or avocado on it for the green, it's got chopped up tomatoes for the red, and it's got mayo for the white, and you have that on them. Those hot dogs, those completos, they're huge when you get them, and you'll see that the locals might get 2 of them. You're like, dude, that's a lot, but you'll see specials on it. I mean, if you're in Santiago, there's like literally a street like on one side of the Plaza de Armas where they just sell, the hot dog stuff. So that's one of those things. Don't be anti-hot dog. Don't be anti-completo when you're here because they love them. But also, don't be anti-empanada. I will tell you, I've traveled all over South America and everybody's got empanadas, but Chile has the best empanadas in South America. And you can get the traditional, the Pino one, which is like the ground beef, onion kind of inside stuff, traditional kind. But here they have it with seafood in it or cheese or some fruit. I mean, there's so many different kinds of empanadas you can get when you're here. They're awesome. So don't be anti-empanada and don't be anti-hot dog when you come here because you're going to have that. And of course, with a coastline this beautiful, the seafood is here. So honestly, don't pass up the seafood, and don't think the seafood is the same the entire way along the country, because it does change with the seafood and the shellfish that's available. So the fresh stuff you're going to get is going to be different places, but it's going to be fantastic no matter where you go. And honestly, we were in Valparaiso the other day, and honestly, oh my God, the seafood stew, the chope de mariscos, amazing, thick as all can get out, but it's awesome. Okay, but we have a video on the foods of Chile you should watch, know what to eat when you're here. But those are a couple of food don'ts, or a few food don'ts I really thought was really important to mention. Oh, also, don't think just because pisco sours are famous from being from Peru that it's not something here in Chile, because Chile, the national drink, is a pisco sour. Now, if you're wondering what's in a pisco sour, you've got pisco. You want to get Chilean pisco, not the Peruvian kind. Get the Chilean pisco, which is like a brandy or a grappa kind of thing, and then they'll mix that with sugar and ice. You shake it up, and lemon juice. They shake it up and they serve it, a little powdered sugar on the rim of the glass. Oh, they're so good. But that's one of the things you don't want to miss. Like, that drink is the drink you want to have when you are here. But don't think it's just in Peru. It's here in Chile as well. And I gotta say, don't miss out on the completos or any of the other hot dogs they do have here in Chile. They're fantastic. Most will have kind of like a relish, and then maybe some tomato, avocado, all kinds of stuff on it. But yeah, a little bit of mayo. It's not like your Hellman's mayo. It's a little bit different. But yes, completos are a must when you're here in Santiago or anywhere in Chile. You gotta have them. But they are messy as heck. Now, I'm here in the Atacama Desert, and there's something I've noticed when I've been in San Pedro de Atacama. All the people keep calling the pebre salsa. Don't call the pebre salsa. If you're not sure what pebre is, it is that chopped up tomato, onion, cilantro, maybe some parsley, some ají peppers in there. It's what they put on their bread. You might put in your empanada. You have it on all kinds of stuff, but it's like the bread topping you're going to have here. And people will say, oh, I love the salsa. I love the salsa. It's not salsa. Don't call it salsa. It's pebre. Another thing I'm going to tell you, when you're here in Chile, don't expect to have a big dinner. They have what's called once. And once, you're like, oh, Mark, it means 11. Well, actually, it's once for the 11 letters in aguardiente, but that's a whole other story. But basically what it is, you'll have a drink when you get back from work and maybe a sandwich. Like, that's all that's there. So what I want to tell you is don't skip out on a big lunch when you're here, because that is the main meal. And you'll see that when you go to restaurants, they'll have big lunch specials. So take advantage of that, okay? And also, when you're looking at kind of eating, don't expect to eat early when you are here or go out early. Because honestly, like pre-partying, it goes till 12 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then you go out, and literally you will go out until maybe 8 in the morning if you want to party that long. But it's not one of those places where things start early, so do be aware of that. And I think another thing that's important, no matter where you are in Chile, don't forget to bring layers, because the weather changes all the time when you're here. And since it's such a thin country, when you travel a little bit, you can have some pretty big differences in the weather due to the elevation where you are. And since it's such a long country, you're going to be using layers no matter what. If you're down in Patagonia and you go to the national parks down there, and up in Atacama or here in Valparaiso, you're going to need to make sure you have layers when you are here. So it's really important to be prepared when you do come, because there isn't really one weather here in Chile. It does vary all the time. And of course, if we're here in Valparaiso, one thing I want to tell you is don't miss the street art. I mean, they have incredible street art here in Valparaiso. I think it's the best, but when you go around the country, you'll see incredible street art. So don't pass it up, and don't think it's just graffiti. No. It's so much more than that when you're here. You'll see it, you'll fall in love with it, because there's so many really great artists that actually do. Yes, there are some graffiti things, but there's some artists that really do amazing things, that really have stuff in galleries. And so you'll see that when you're here. I mean, there's fantastic art when you are here. So take advantage of that. And when you are walking around, you do meet the locals. One thing I want to tell you is don't think those kisses on the cheeks are about passion. That's just a kind of a greeting when you are here, because you'll know when they really want to show passion. Because I want to tell you, don't be surprised by the PDA. Yes, the public display of affection here can be off the charts sometimes. So if you really want to give your special somebody a smooch, you go right ahead, because the locals are as well. Except when they're doing the greetings one, that's a different kind of kiss on the cheek. So I think you'll be able to tell the difference. Oh, don't forget, when you're in high altitudes, you might be a bit gassier than usual, i.e. your burping and your toots might be a little bit less controllable than you're used to. Just FYI. So when you're flying into Chile, one thing I got to tell you is do not bring any food products with you. They are very strict when you come into the country, like going through your bags, looking through your stuff. Like, you probably have to go online to fill out a little form saying, I declare I'm not bringing any food stuff with me. Do be aware of that, because agriculture is such a really important part of their economy. They don't mess around with that. So do be aware of that, okay? Also, if you're most likely going to be flying into Santiago when you come here, don't be scared when you land, because the Andes Mountains, and it's in that valley there, it can be a quick, rough ride, let's say, when you're landing or when you're taking off. So do be aware of that, okay? Also, if you're going to be coming here, realize this isn't necessarily, don't think it's a beach vacation country, though they have beaches for literally thousands of miles. It's a coastline is gorgeous to see. However, that water is coming from the south, i.e. Antarctica, around there, and the water is freezing cold. So if you want a beach vacation, you could be like the Chileans and maybe go to Brazil for a beach vacation where you go in the water. Here, you have great coast. You can go hang out at the beach in Viña del Mar. If you want like maybe some a little bit warm water, you go to the very north of the country up there. But don't think it's really a beach place. This is more of a mountain hiking adventure kind of place. So if you want to go up to Atacama and do the sandboarding, you can do that, or hiking in the mountains or skiing. Like, this is great for that. And so that's what I want to say is, like, be prepared for that. That sadly, it's not so much beach as it is adventure tourism when you're here. So whenever we go to South America, people ask, Mark, are you going to be safe when you're there? And I want to tell you this, you don't have to worry about your safety as much here in Chile as you do in other parts of South America, especially if you're thinking about Argentina or Ecuador or Brazil for sure. I mean, this is probably one of the safer places you can go in South America, and the people really make it you feel safer too when you're there, because they're very helpful. They're going to let you know where to go, and that's one thing I recommend. If you're not sure about safe parts of town, ask your hotel. tell, because the Chileans are very honest. They'll be like, hey, as a tourist, maybe you shouldn't go there. Maybe your real safety danger is getting too close to the water, not worrying about the people. But they will let you know that. And if you are in bigger cities like Santiago or you know, Valparaiso or Viña del Mar, and it's late night, I mean, just like anywhere in the world, you need to be careful with that. But in general, you don't have to be superly cautious when you're here. You just use your usual travel sense. Don't leave stuff in your car if you're renting a car driving around, because that can get stolen. Make sure you use your safe at your hotel to keep your passport and that little tourist document thing they give you safe. You know, you got to use that. But in general, it is a very safe country. So if you're looking for a South America kind of safe place to go, Chile would be one place I'd recommend. However, you want to be specific with some safety things I do want to warn you about. One, you don't really have to worry about the bugs too much because you have such high elevation. It gets so cool, so bugs aren't really an issue. But don't forget sun protection, because you're outside, whether you're in the Atacama Desert in the very north, high elevations, you know, kind of stuff, the UV rays come down, or you're going along the coast, you need to make sure you're having sun protection, wearing long sleeves, having your hats, putting on those sunblock again and again and again to protect yourself. But also, if you're going to be hiking Atacama, other places, you have to be aware of altitude sickness, because for some people that can be very bad. You got high blood pressure, that can be very dangerous, okay? So make sure if you do have altitude sickness problems, talk to your doctor before you come. They can give you pills to help with the altitude sickness, because I've seen people in really bad shape in Atacama that got up there and tried to do too much their first day. I mean, it's actually in our don'ts of Atacama is, yeah, don't do too much your first couple days you're up there, because adjusting that high altitude and that dryness can be really, it can really get you, okay? So be aware of that. So don't play around with the altitude and don't play around with the sun when you're here, because those are probably your two most dangerous things here. Because honestly, when I look at driving here, this is obviously the safest country to drive in. Like Jocelyn even talked about, I didn't think I was going to die my first 2 or 3 days here from the driving. It was okay. So yeah, so the safety thing comes down to the sun and the altitude for me, and of course your usual travel safety stuff, because you know what, if you're in Santiago, Valparaiso, there are some pickpockets there, but honestly, overall, it's a safe country if we look at it in comparison to all the rest of South America. Now, when you come to Chile, you're going to realize this is a nature lover's paradise, and with that, there's tons of coastline, the mountains, everything, the national parks you're going to love. But I got to tell you this, no matter which national park you're going to go to, where you're going to be out in nature, don't forget to follow some of the rules, okay? Make sure you're taking your trash out, okay? Don't leave anything behind. If you're not supposed to be picnicking or camping someplace, don't. Also, don't forget to follow the signs. You know, hey, there's no fires here, because here, you have to realize in some parts they have eucalyptus, which burns really easily, and bushfires do happen here, and it can be a very dangerous thing. So don't forget to follow the rules, not just for your safety, but for the safety of everybody when you're here, because the nature here is gorgeous. And no, you don't have to really worry about the penguins getting you or anything like that. But it is one of those things that nature can get you in terms of your hiking and stuff. So don't forget to follow those rules when you're in the national parks or anywhere out in nature to keep it beautiful here so other people can enjoy this beautiful country. So if you're part of the LGBTQ community, one thing I got to tell you, don't worry about coming to Chile. This is one of the most open-minded, accessible places in South America, in Central America, Latin America you can come to. So you don't have to worry. You can enjoy and be here with your family, with your friends, with your special someone, and not feel kind of worried about coming here. And I think that's one of those things I really want to share about Chile, because it really is open to everybody. So when you're buying stuff, don't forget sin quotas. That's what you need to do. You're going to pay an all-in-one payment as a foreigner. You're not paying in parts. So when they're paying with a credit card, sin quotas. Don't forget that. Sin quotas without paying it in parts. Okay, remember that when you get your wine, your other stuff here. Very important, don't. And speaking of the chill kind of stuff, I do want to tell you this. Don't think Chile is like that hot, you know, South American kind of stuff you think of when you see Rio and the little bikinis and everyone's going around in their t-shirts and shorts and kind of stuff, or in Colombia and other places, because since you have all these mountains and it really goes far south, it's actually chilly in Chile. And I know I said to wear layers wherever you're going to go, but you do need to be aware of that, because some people come thinking, oh, I'm just going to come from Brazil and fly over, or come down from Peru. Why not? You got to be ready for a little bit of chilliness when you are here in Chile. So I hope you liked your don'ts and more or less do's of visiting Chile. If you want to learn more, maybe 10 things that shock tourists when they come here, or what you should eat when you come to Chile, check us out on our website at woltersworld.com. And we appreciate all your extra tips for other do's and don'ts of coming to Chile, so other travelers can have a beautiful time in this beautiful country. And I'll say bye from here on the coast of Chile.